Hey everybody, welcome to Leo the Lefty. I've got something a little different for you guys today. I'm going to start doing a short little segments called Leo's Mom Did What. And that is because my mom, who passed away in 2003, she was a bit of a crazy hippie, free love, you name it, free spirit, all that back in the like 70s and stuff when she was a young 20s before she was a mother. I promise all of these stories that I'm going to tell you, most of them were before she was a mother. This one today is definitely before she had any kids, and it's called Tortilla Jail, and I'll explain why. But before we get into it, these are just some bookmarks. I make bookmarks and like kind of darker humor greeting cards and things like that. So I've decided I'll work on these when I tell my shorter stories and everything like that. So I'm gonna pick one, and then we will get started on Tortilla Jail. Let's see here. Let's do. We want to do arrows. I got murder sprites here. They're like little voodoo dolls with butterfly wings. I call them murder sprites. We got one with little meat cleavers. I like to do just random hairstyles and everything. Little umbrellas. Should we do the one with aliens? Or, well, UFOs anyway? Or the skulls. Let's do UFOs. Alright, I'll clear these away. Alright, so in the 70s, my mom lived in California for a while. She, like I said, was kind of a crazy, a free-spirited goofball. Very funny, life of the party, but still kind of an introvert and everything, and she had that balance. So she used to tell me some of her stories from back in the day, before she became a mother, and some of them are pretty hilarious, so I thought I'd share them with you guys because, I don't know, talking about my mom makes me really happy. She was a wonderful woman. So, she, of course, in the 70s, disco was all the rage and everything, and she'd only lived in California for a few months at this point, so she had started making friends and doing all the things that the dirty hippies used to do back then. She beach bummed it for a while and, you know, all that. This is like kind of the tail end of Vietnam and everything. Yes, my mom is a boomer. I'm an elder millennial. I'm 40, so, you know, this was the time in America when, you know, California was everybody's dream destination, including lots of serial killers. This story doesn't have anything to do with serial killers today, though, but I've got a different story about that later on. Anyway, so my mom and her friends decide that they are going to go just on a night out. They don't really have any definite plans. They're just going to go, you know, see what they can get into. And she tells me that, you know, they go to a couple of friends' houses and drink some beers and smoke some pot and things like that. And they're just having a good old time. And, she said, you know, she probably maybe had a little bit too much to drink, and she started to get a little like tipsy and woozy and everything like that. But they all decided at some point, she doesn't remember when they decided to go to a disco. She just said that, you know, at some point she was just at a disco. So she's, you know, talking about the strobe lights, and they're just flickering away, and she's dancing. She's having a great time. And then she starts to get a little hot, and, you know, dizzy and everything. So she just sits down in the middle of the dance floor. And she says that she remembers, you know, her friends picking her up, but after that, she doesn't really remember much. Um, and so she said she must have slept it off, which is good. And then she woke up and she was in the San Jose jail. And she had absolutely no idea how she got there. And, you know, there's a couple of other people in there, or women, but she doesn't know them. You know, none of these people are people she knows. And so, you know, she's kind of freaking out. She's, you know, she was a free spirit hippie, but she'd never been in any kind of trouble before. So she's like, what is going on? Oh my gosh. I think she was maybe like 21, 22. Lived in small town Texas her whole life, and like I said, never got in any trouble. So she was a little bit freaked out. And one of the other women in there tells her, yeah, you came in singing, and then you fell asleep, and then you woke up and sang again for a while, and then you went back to sleep, and then you started talking about being in a movie, and then you went to sleep, and then you woke up and started singing again. So I guess, you know, those other ladies in the holding tank with her had a rough night taking care of my mom. Because despite her being loud and intoxicated in some way, you know, they thought she was sweet and they wanted to take care of her, so they did, which, you know, that's really kind. So finally she gets to talk to a police officer, and she asks, you know, how did she end up there, what happened? And he believed her to be drunk the night before, and said that, you know, she had been arrested at a grocery store because she had walked in singing, and then she put a pack of tortillas under her shirt and walked out of the store. And I guess she'd been in there long enough for the people to have called the cops, and the cops showed up. And turns out she never did go to a disco that night. The lights she had seen were actually the cop lights on the squad car, and she was dancing in the parking lot, and it was not her friends who took her off the dance floor. It was the cops who picked her up and took her to jail, and they told her that she had been, you know, quite enthusiastic and jolly and, you know, like kind of excited because she'd never been to jail before, and they were just taking her to sleep it off. You know, this is the 70s. She wasn't issued any kind of a citation, or she didn't get in any trouble. They literally just brought her to the jail to sleep it off and, you know, get sober again. So what had actually happened is she was not drunk. At one of those house parties, they had decided to drop acid. And then they were going to walk to the beach. And so they dropped said acid and started walking to the beach about half an hour later. And she just wandered off. And she wandered into a grocery store. You know, and thank God, because, yeah, like, can you imagine with all the serial killers running around there at the time? Good Lord, I might not exist. So, yeah, she actually, you know, they were going to arrest her for shoplifting, but she realized she had taken the tortillas while they were arresting her, and then she ended up, apologizing profusely and trying to give the police a $5 bill. And, you know, the store manager or whatever was out there and said it was fine, since she paid, they wouldn't press charges for shoplifting. I think he felt sorry for her too. So that is tortilla jail. That is how my mom went to jail for stealing tortillas from a grocery store while tripping on acid one night. She had a good time. And she lived in California for a couple of years before she moved back to the South, where we are now. And lived quite a life while she was there, and I've got a bunch of fun stories to tell you over the next few times. And then I've got some stories that were funny once I was alive. We had some adventures of our own, but my mother was a hilarious woman who could always make me laugh, always make me feel better. She was my best friend, and we were very close. And I just thought it would be a fun way to reconnect with her, to tell some of her stories, and, you know, I'm going to maintain her privacy and not put her name out there or anything. But you know, Leo's mom. My mom. She used to get into all kinds of things. My silly mom. Ooh, that's darker than I thought it was going to be. That's okay, though. We'll see how it looks. Yeah, my mom was a animal lover. We used to be the house that people would drop off boxes of puppies and kittens because they knew that my mom would take care of them. It wasn't necessarily always a good thing, especially whenever, you know, we didn't always have the money to do that, but my mom always found a way. And kind of translates into today. I've worked at an animal shelter now for almost 11 years, and I love it. It's a wonderful job, and all 3 of my animals that I currently have now came from there. So, you know, it definitely impacted my life in a way that turned into sort of a career for me. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff, which maybe I'll do a whole section on the craziness that is working at an animal shelter, because you meet all kinds of interesting people, whether you want to or not. You hear all kinds of crazy stories. I've, you know, taken in owls and hawks, and we've had roosters and goats dumped off on us, and all kinds of things. Unfortunately, my mother wasn't alive when I started working at the animal shelter, so, you know, she didn't get to see me enjoying that aspect of the way she raised me, but she knows. She's up there somewhere, and she's looking down, and she knows. So, that is a fun story about my crazy mom, whom I love very much, I miss very much, and so I thought maybe talking about her a little bit would be fun, and it was. I enjoyed that. I hope y'all do too. I don't know. She was definitely a, as she called it, a rebel without a clue. She thought she was going to go to California and live the hippie lifestyle and free love and all that forever. And I mean, she did for a few years, but then she was like, ugh, you know, everything's so expensive here, and I'm tired of partying and all that. And so she ended up coming back home and kind of settling down. And you know, then later on she had some kids, including me, and you know, I have some other siblings. But she was a wonderful mother whom I miss every day, and it was pretty cathartic to get to tell a story about her. And I'll tell you guys more. She had all kinds of crazy hippie friends. Oh, another thing, whenever she first, you know, her first set of roommates whenever she moved to California were a couple of drag queens, and I am named after one of them. I'm not going to tell you my real name for privacy reasons, but my first name is actually named after one of the drag queens that was one of her very, very good friends. Well, it was his drag name. Well, I'm not going to tell you his real name either, but he was a very good friend to my mother, and, you know, they had a great time living together, and they talked for many years before he passed away, and then, you know, she passed away, but they always remained good friends, and he was kind of like an uncle to me growing up. I didn't get to see him too often, but he was just a very, very kind, gentle soul, but and a fierce queen. Loved it. All right. So that's the bookmark. I've got all kinds of these. I make more than just the hairstyles and everything like that. I'll show some of these other ones that I've done. There's oh, wow, that was very graceful. Yeah, I also got my mom's grace. Yep. Oh, that was an interruption. I'll clean it up in editing. You got some cracked eggs here. I draw these under one of my other pen names, and that is Bastard Sinner. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, folks. My battery is running low. It's about to die. I'm just trying to show you some before it goes away, but sometimes I draw little skeleton couples and things like that. But anyway, you'll see more of what I work on. I'll show you some of my cards, postcards, and other bookmarks later, and I'll tell you about the other pen name that I draw under at another time. Alright, everybody, thanks for watching my video, and if you like it, hit subscribe, leave me a comment, give me a like, whatever you want. I appreciate all your support. Thanks. Bye.